the past.
Oh, I don't disagree with that.
So now let me interject and steer our discussion in a slightly different direction. I thought Bentley structured his paper nicely, first introducing the basic idea, then discussing what not to do, and finally concluding with his idea of what historians should do.
Yes, he breaks down the version of ecumenical world history he's advocating by describing its basis in large-scale empirical narratives. He lists the main features of these narratives as rising human population, expanding technological capacity, and increasing prominence of cross-cultural interaction over time.
He enumerated the reasons he believes that his ecumenical version of world history is the best way to go about studying the global past also.
So, panelists, moving along, what are your thoughts on Bentley's use of sources and evidence?
His footnotes were mainly referring to secondary sources, but it's appropriate for the article in that he was mostly critiquing arguments by other historians or activists.
Yes, I liked there being references to further reading material when I found myself particularly drawn to any one point.
I also thought the examples he provided to illustrate his points were successfully descriptive and allusive.
How about in his discussion of Christian textbooks?
With the evidence he presented, I found his criticisms to be right on par.
I agree. I'll need to look into it further to read some examples on my own, but Bentley points us towards several illustrations of patriotic world history informing the xenophobic perspectives of widely used Christian textbooks that seemed cogent.
I mean, if what he explored in the article is standard practice across Christian academies and homeschooling families, it's simply shocking. His example of a textbook claiming to cover world history that only mentions Africa in terms of European exploits and does not mention a single African by name is ridiculous.
Indeed, he does give evidence by way of Patterson's Democracy and Intolerance that these examples are, in fact, not at all unusual. The whole idea of textbooks that simply ignore scholarship that does not conform to their authors' or publishers' preconceived views is as absurd to me as the patriotic version of world history that focuses solely on the greatness of American and democratic institutions throughout history over others.
Bentley brings himself into the article numerous times to mention his personal views and his views as a historian on various points. A practice, as you are all aware, that is known as reflexivity.
Reflexivity. The act of an historian thinking about what presuppositions, prefiguring, and personal issues are being brought to the subject of scholarly inquiry. Reflexivity.
Did you find this self-referentiality successful?
Well, I found it distracting.
Distracting? He was being upfront about his own ideas about his topic. This way we know why certain points he makes sound a bit harsh.
Haha, that was a backhanded compliment, if ever I heard one.
No. I mean, well, yes, there were a few points over the course of the article Bentley got a little enthusiastic in his criticisms, but I thought his descriptions and arguments were valid, and I appreciated that he acknowledged his own personal considerations of the issues explicitly, so the reader could judge Bentley's arguments for him or herself.
Also, referring to his own political and ideological inclinations, emphasizes the complexities of the issue of morality for the historian. It seems clear that he tried to exemplify in this article as best he could the characteristics of his vision of sophisticated historical scholarship. I'd point to the line, "Ecumenical world history will not provide easy or automatic answers to specific policy questions," but it stands to reason that honest, rigorous, reflexive study of the global past can help foster the development of good judgment among students and citizens about the world and its ways.
Absolutely. Bentley concludes with this appeal to reason. Rather than accept a version of world history that is xenophobic or aims towards specific political or ideological goals, Bentley argues, would it not be wiser to wager on an ecumenical world history that actually takes the world seriously, treats its various peoples with respect, shed light on the dynamics that explain the world's development through time, and might even conceivably contribute to such worthy goals as cross-cultural understanding and global peace? This brings this week's episode of Historical Analysis Sock Puppet Theater to a close. Please join us again soon for another scintillating discussion.